To you, Vandana, to see all the good work that you're doing, not just as a security solutions architect at IBM, but also with your passion for educating kids and especially girls, I think, on information security and cybersecurity in general. It's a real passion for us to see that any glass ceilings are broken in the world, whether it is on the basis of gender or caste or creed. And so I congratulate you on the work you're doing there. I'm obviously not from a cybersecurity background, and I probably mess up big time online with my own data. But of course, my background in AI and my bias to you in machine learning is that we live in a world where there's so much data being generated, whether it is in cybersecurity or IoT or any other facet of our lives, that it's a very exciting time to be a machine learning engineer. And I'm sure also you would feel the same about cybersecurity, because with the Internet of Things as well, there's so many cyber challenges with so much of our national assets going online. There are huge defense and security aspects that need to be dealt with. I think the bringing together of these fields is very important, right? And for us to understand each other is very important. And I hope that this is, for me at least, the first step towards understanding what you as cybersecurity experts do. And I hope that you're going to motivate a bunch of students in the direction of using artificial intelligence for cybersecurity today. So I'll hand over to you, because they're not here to listen to me, but to listen to you. And so thank you again for taking the time out, and I look forward to listening to your talk.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. And I'm really glad that you invited me to be part of the ecosystem, especially for students, because students, and this is one area which actually interests me the most. And I remember when I was in college, I didn't know cybersecurity can be a field, like a field where you can join as, or now people say I'm a hacker. Like I have I'm wearing a t-shirt which says hacker woman here. So now people call that, yes, we are hackers, but then this is perceived in a negative way also. But I feel that it's a very positive word. If we talk about the not so good people, they are malicious attackers or all those things. So today, what I really want to touch upon a bits and pieces on cybersecurity. What are the attacks which are generally so common with the industry or with the people, and how AI can help all of that and avoiding all of that. So probably I feel the session might be helpful, but you keep posting your questions in the chat box so that we can answer, and I'll try to justify the session. And if you still feel that there might be something that I might I might have missed, so do feel free to let me know or reach out to me for that. Here, a bit about myself. I think most of the things Saurabh said, so I'm not going to go over it. So I'll just go ahead and straight go into the presentation. So today we are going to talk about what is cybersecurity, why do we need it, what does hacking, why people go for hacking, and why do people do that. Now, you must be hearing about this company got hacked, this data got leaked, this has happened. Especially now, I think it's so much prevalent that even a school-going kid knows about the data got breached, this company got breached, because everyone is on social media. Like they want to have their own accounts. I remember my niece, she said that I want to be on Facebook, and I was like, okay. And when people say that they are 6-7 years old and they said that they want to be on Facebook, that can be really concerning also. Like you want to be on social media, so social media comes when people say that big things comes with big responsibility. So if you don't manage it, it can be a big trouble. So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. Then what are the different fields which are emerging in cybersecurity? So let me go here and talk about security. So when I talk about cybersecurity, it has different meanings to different people. And especially if I talk about securing the data, I would say maintaining the confidentiality, integrity, availability of the data and asset. Now, why do I say that? Or people call it as CIA tried. Now, why do I call it as? Why do we need it? Think about, there is an application that you have, or for that matter, there's some which application is more famous. I think people are using a lot around Instagram. I was not on Instagram. I came recently just to see why people are so much into it. And previous to that, there was one app which actually now is not in use in India. So now, when you say Instagram, you upload photos, you upload videos, you have something called Reels. Now, when that's there, you have uploaded so much of data, but when you have uploaded, it goes to everyone and people start using that data. Would you be comfortable? Your videos are circulating around, your pictures are circulating around everywhere, and people are using it. I wouldn't love it. Like there's some video which is like Powery, which is circulating around. Now people have modified their own versions and are using it. I wouldn't want my pictures to be circulated around, my videos to be circulated around, or anything that I have shared. So why not keep it confidential? When it comes to availability, now whenever you need it, but it should be available. But somebody has made some changes to the application and it went down. So when you need it, it's not available. Would it be concerning? Absolutely, that's going to be concerning. Now comes integrity. I shared some information with Sarab, and meanwhile there is a third person which came in, and the person modified the details and then sent it to Sarab. So Sarab asked me, for example, Sarab asked me to give a session today, and I wanted to be part of it because it's for students, it's for universities, and it's very close to my heart. But suddenly there's a third person who might not like me doing all of this. That person comes in and says that, uh, or shares the information with Sarab, saying that she's not ready for the session. So the information gets modified and changed, which means there is an integrity that's get breached. Similarly, that principle is applicable with the IT systems, with data, and with anything that we deal with. And that's when cybersecurity comes into picture. And I really like the picture which is on the right hand side, wherein we are using the online platforms, we are transferring money, we are using the wallets. And if money gets removed from your wallet, what happens? That can be tricky. So I'll tell you a funny thing. uh, I was trying to sell some old furniture on one of the portals, which actually people go to and buy the vehicles and the furniture and whatnot. Now, when I went there and I published all those details, I started getting calls. People started negotiating, which is like the most common thing. After that, there's a person who said that I am from armed forces, and I want to buy it. You can send it to me. You just put it on the like a truck and send it to me. I'll transfer you the money. If you want, I can send you the link right now, and I can actually give you the money. And I'm like, okay, I can send you the stuff, but you just said link. So, what happens when I click on the link? I have seen cases where you click on the link, it asks you for an OTP, or it asks you for a code or a PIN. And once you set up the or put in the PIN, the money, instead of you getting it, it gets removed. So if you look for these common techniques that are really common, like I said common techniques which are really common, but these are techniques which are really common. So just make sure when you're clicking any link, do check it out what it is. And especially when we are using wallets, we do have a single pin for it. So if you're using that, and around UPI, when you have that pin and you use your UPI pin, the money can get transferred. And we've seen the ads which are circulated around where especially people call elderly people and get the money from their accounts. So anyone can be phished, even security team can be phished. So security people who are working in the cybersecurity space can be phished. So do do check out all these things, then keep reading about these things, what can be concerning for you. And as Sarab mentioned, that Sarab is very active in the AI/ML space, but when it comes to cybersecurity, we might miss out on things. Like, I've been in this space for 15 years, but I might have clicked on the link, I might have transferred the money to the person. That could be a possibility. I have seen my very close friend losing money because of such kind of attacks. So I wouldn't want that for anyone. And that's when cybersecurity pitch in. And why do people hack? Motivation to hack? Like, I want to do it. I've seen people saying that I want to be a hacker. I want to do this. I want to do that. And like, okay, you want to do that. Now what's next? I want to do it for money. So why not do the bug bounty? Like, there are platforms which are allowing you to find the bugs and they'll pay you. Or in like, I remember when I started this in this field, and I started telling people that I'm part of information security or cybersecurity, people say, do you know how to hack? Can you take over this account? And I'm like, is it so easy? Then there are hacktivists, and there are some people who do it for fun, and there are people who actually want to breach the intellectual property, like they want to actually get the trade secrets of an organization and so many things around. Then they want to have a reputation in cybersecurity. Here comes the CIA triad, but people have started talking about CIAA. Now, I've talked about confidentiality, availability, and integrity, which actually builds the CI triad and which we start the base upon. Think about you. You've been asked to keep a pizza safe. Can you keep a pizza safe? No, I'm like a big fan of pizza. I don't eat too much, but yeah, I'm a big fan. So if that's one thing that comes to me, I can't resist. So if somebody asks you to keep it safe and you start eating it, that means somebody asked you to keep your data safe and you're spilling it everywhere. And there's something called oil, which people say that it's most valuable thing. Now the era has changed, the paradigm has shifted. People have started saying data is the new oil. Now if the data is spilled everywhere, what could go wrong? Now while I was talking about your pictures, your videos, if your pictures are everywhere on the internet as a meme or something, or your messages are everywhere, would that be concerning? I would be the most scared person if somebody gets to know a lot of, or somebody gets my private information or personal information. Like, I'm not a big fan of sharing a lot of pictures on social media. Like, I think 10 times before sharing anything. Similarly, it's a normal thing. You think that you are actually keeping your information or your valuable things at a very secure place, and you forget about it. So how what would happen? Or you have social media accounts, you have your mail accounts, you have your data safe somewhere, and you forget your account details. What would happen? You'll keep digging, you'll keep finding it. So that will be very, very tricky. And now comes, like, that's where the availability comes into picture. We've done with confidentiality, we've done with availability, but think about you, you have a toaster. So instead of making a toast, it starts blending it. Is that a concerning point? Absolutely, because integrity of that appliance is breached. So I give this example every time I give this session. I don't know why, but it keeps struck, like it's struck with me. So my cousin brother actually got a chandelier, or a zoomer we call it as, and it was running with the Bluetooth. Now Bluetooth hacking was very common during those days, and even now also people are coming with a lot of Bluetooth attacks. So I started looking out for like, my brain ticks, and I started looking out for some things which or some scripts which I can run on this chandelier, and I can connect via Bluetooth and I can keep it running. So and that was very exciting for him, wherein it was playing a music when it was running. So we were at the dinner table once, and I ran that script and it started running. Now it was running continuously. And think about if light starts flickering, if something turns off or turns on automatically, how scary that would be. So that scared everyone at home. I think that's one of the amazing things that I've done, or I would still feel that how much interesting that would be, that was at that time. So if you are using IoT devices, now we have smart TVs at home. um, um, we have so many other things going around. So probably I think to look at the things to look at is, if you're using all these technologies, remember that there is a security aspect to it. There are people who can get to it, so how you can safeguard them. Now comes threats and vulnerabilities. Threats that might be potential harm for the information systems. When it comes to vulnerabilities are the weakness in the systems which are there, which people can exploit and get into your system. So which are common hacking techniques. So I'm just going to go over them fast so that we can talk a bit around the AI with cybersecurity. So keyloggers are interesting things. Like how I got introduced to them was wherein I was going for a lab wherein I wanted to understand the basics of cybersecurity, basics of pen testing. So this guy said, "Can you type your Gmail username and password and see if it works?" And I was like, "Okay, why?" But we were part of the lab, and we were like, "Okay, let's give it a try." I did it, and few other people did it. And after 5 minutes, he came up saying, "Is this your username and password?" We got hell shocked and realized that there was something which was tracking. So he had a keylogger installed. So everything and anything that we were doing, that was sending strokes to him, or that was sending all the informations to him. So similarly, keyloggers, that time it was a hardware keylogger. Now they come in softwares wherein if there is an attachment that comes to you and it's a software which gets installed on your system, so that keylogger can send all the information to the attackers, to the third parties, anything that you type in. Now, when it comes to phishing, so phishing is another mechanism which is very prevalent, which you might have heard, or if you've not heard, remember that people call you, people mail you, which actually seem too much of legitimate. Right now, you are part of a university and you get a mail from university dean. Would you open that or not? Which is very common, you will open that. But you look at the email address, that seems legitimate, but still I see that this is not the exact email address. But the information says that the classes have been cancelled and the exams have been postponed. You'll be like, wow, that's one amazing thing. So that happens, but then in actual that doesn't happen. So you realize you've been fished. Now, there's a very recent case that is very prevalent when people are talking about it. Nidhi Rajdan's case, where she said she is joining Harvard as a professor, and then after a few months, she says that that was a phishing. So that's like ideal case of phishing, and if that can happen to her, that can happen to anyone as well. And sometimes when we talk about phishing, we need to be very vigilant what's happening around. And I am very suspicious of a lot of things around. Till the time I don't trust the person, I am not too comfortable in sharing information and too comfortable in speaking. Like I do speak a lot. I'm an outspoken person, and I would say that I connect with a lot of people. But like for speaking at this event, was it too easy? And I and Sarab have never met. So I would say that, was it too easy to say that yes, I'm going to be ready for the session? But Sarab was introduced to me by a friend and I could trust. So I went ahead and said, yes, let's go ahead and we could have a conversation around. Similarly, phishing emails I don't know. Which mix So phishing emails, phishing calls can actually take a lot of information from you about your OTPs, about your credit cards, and so much information. So do check them out. Clickjacking is wherein you are a victim of a kind of attack wherein your mouse clicks are being tracked, and hackers want you to do what they want to do. So anything that you are doing on a website, like there are, when you go to a website, there are certain hidden links, and as soon as you click on those links, your clicks might be hijacked, and your clicks might be redirecting you to a phishing site, or a fishy site which might download a malware on your system, or a virus on your system. Would you want that? No, I wouldn't want that. And similarly, session hijacking is another area which actually people are very concerned about. Like, you are logged into your Gmail, your Facebook, and suddenly somebody starts getting to see your emails. Would you like it? No, that's very, very concerning. So remember to look at the website that you're dealing with are on HTTPS. There is a lock symbol when you are dealing with any application. Without lock symbol, it's unsecure, and anyone in the network can sniff your data and can listen what's happening around. Eavesdropping is something which is listening to the conversation which people are doing. So maybe via instant messages, via phone call, and they're listening to the private conversation, which is more of a passive conversation. There is a system that gets hacked, and there are attackers who are in the system, and they're just listening to all the things that are happening around. Now comes bait and switch, wherein attackers are hiding somewhere, you don't know, and as soon as you are redirected to a website, or even for the advertising space, like there are advertisers advertising things on the, or advertisements on the social media sites. So as soon as you click on them, you redirect it to some other site, and there's a malware or an adware that gets installed on your system. For the fun fact, I have also infected my system long back with adwares. Like, I was just playing around with things, and I got infected. And you might have seen those ad wherein if you want to lose your weight in 10 days, and you want to be slim and trim. And I was like, what are these? Why are they coming on my browser? And every time I used to go to browser, it used to come in, and every time there's something. I'm like, what is this? I tried removing extensions from the browser. I looked at the system, what I might have installed, but I realized that it's an adware. So I had to do the registry changes. I had to remove it from the registry. And in the end, I formatted my system. That was very scary. Oh my God. Like, I still remember those things, and it gives me goosebumps. So fake WAP is something, or a watering hole attacks are very common. Have you ever connected to a Wi-Fi on a public place, like a cyber cafe or a airport? I have done it. Like, I accept I've done it, and I openly accept that I have made this mistake. So whenever I reach airport, I connect to the airport Wi-Fi, and I browse the internet. Now think about, if a malicious attack vector or an attacker has a fake Wi-Fi, which is an open Wi-Fi, and you connect to. Now they can understand and see what you're doing. If you are surfing your Facebook or Gmail or anything, the information can be traveled uh, around. Now, similarly, if your data is going out, would you like it? Like, as a fake web, I wouldn't want that. So I remember, whenever I am on an airport and I might have to connect it via the airport Wi-Fi, I will always put a VPN on. Then only I'll use it, or I will never use the airport Wi-Fi or a cafe Wi-Fi. I'm very, very scared of that. So now, whenever I travel abroad, also, I always make sure that I have a connection which I take from India, so that I don't have to connect to the public Wi-Fi's. That's very scary. Trust me, that can actually create a lot of things. Now, malwares, backdoors, adwares are something which are so common these days, which gets installed on your system, and that stays on forever, and till the time you get to know. So remember to not to click on anything that you feel that could be suspicious, or if you don't know about, why do you have to do that? If you get a mail, even from a known person, and there's some attachment that might sound fishy, just check, call them up and check out. That's very important to do that. And don't go to any website that might look fishy, or which is not on HTTP. And I've seen people go to torrents and download a lot of movies. I would say, when you download something from the torrent, there are added benefits in the form of malware, viruses do come in. So I'm a big hater of torrents, which I don't feel that torrent should be used because it does a lot around the privacy and a lot of infringements which it does. So I would say avoid as much as you can. Now comes social media protection. Now, as it was a college session, so I added all of this because it's necessary to understand the basics. Here, the basic tips, which I will tell you now and you'll forget it, which is so common, but I'll give you some examples which might stick with you. Now, why I'm saying that? Because if someone gives me a checklist, I'll remember for some time. As soon as the session is done, I'll forget it. That's like so common. So we speak about it, speak on around these things. So when you post anything on the internet, remember it's going to stay there forever. Forever means forever. It's going to be archived. I remember a person, I don't know, but I know because he's part of the same community. He wrote an article recently, not so recent, like 2 months back, saying that I found a person whom I was searching since second standard because we switched the schools. I'm like, okay, you still remember the person, and he actually did the whole write up about it. But later on, when people realize that it is a stalking, where person is stalking a person, find the full name, phone number, address, and where they go and vote, where she's studying, it's scary. So they realized and pointed it out. It took some time for him to take it down, and he took it down. But by the time damage was done, he's part of the community, he was part of the community that I worked for, and we took an action that that person should know that it was a mistake and it should not be repeated ever. And when that was done, there was another thing that was done at the same time was um, somebody else actually tried to figure out whether the blog has been removed or not. So it was there in archives. So when it's there in archives, it can be tricky. Anyone can go back and figure out what this person has written ever. And on the same line, I remember a close friend who actually posted something in a fun way or shared a video which was around some political content. And he got into the university that he wanted, but then they were looking at the aspects that who is posting what on the social media and what kind of content. And especially when you are filling forms and when you're joining organization, they also specifically says that you shouldn't have a political angle to it. A lot of times they say. Now this person, when he got selected in the university, they actually rejected him. Like after a few days he got a rejection letter, and they actually shared the whole chain that why they did it. So there are times when we, in a fun way, we share the videos, we share things, we share content, we share things. We all have a right to speak. Like we do have a freedom of speech, but then can we be more cautious around what we are sharing, what we are speaking around, that can be harmful for us. So passwords, they're my favorites. Do you use toothbrush like we use every day? That's the first thing that we do when we wake up. So, have you ever felt your passwords are like toothbrushes? I know a lot of people share their passwords with their family members. I don't share it. I'm a big paranoid. I don't share it with anyone, even to my closest friend. I would say. So toothbrushes are like uh, passwords are like toothbrushes. When you don't share your toothbrush, why would you share your password? And for the fun fact, I was giving the same example in one of the town halls in my previous organizations. And the senior leadership comes and says that passwords are like your underwears, undergarments. When you don't share your undergarments, why would you share your passwords? They're so much confidential. uh, I feel that when I give examples, they stuck with people. So that's when, if I give you this checklist, you will just say, oh, okay, I got to know, I know about it, and you'll forget it. And that happens with me also. So I wouldn't question that. But yeah, examples do stay with us, and the things that we actually really see. So understanding the default privacy settings. What I mean by this is, always when you are on a website, look for the privacy settings. There are applications which are sharing your data with third-party vendors, with other third-party applications. I don't want to do that. There are applications which are not there on my phone. Like I don't have a lot of social media sites on my phone. I'm very scared. Like I don't want to have anything on my phone because I use it for my transactions and whatnot. So I don't want them to hear what I share. And for a fun fact, I remember switching to Android just recently, like after a long time. When I shared, I was saying that I want to go to an e-commerce site and I want to buy something. Okay, fine. And suddenly a pop-up comes on, an ad comes on my screen that, okay, there's a discount going on. I was scared to hell. I realized that there was an Google Assistant which was on, which might be listening to everything. And for the fun fact, I actually have a Google at home, and which is like Google Home Mini, and I removed that from the plug, and I only plug it when my kids are playing some music. So I never want to keep it on. They might be listening to anything and everything. So there is also a joke around. I was speaking with my best friend. I laughed. My best friend laughed. Alexa laughed, and all the other things laughed. So privacy settings are equally important when we are using these devices. We are giving them an avenue to track anything and everything that we are doing, and that's when social media sites comes into picture. Like how do you know that this site is secure? Remember, basic thing is it should be on HTTPS. And be careful in when you're connecting to anything in the public spaces, and be aware of what you post online. Refrain from discussing any professional work related things on social media sites. Monitor your privacy settings, it's very important. Now when I'm saying all of this, I'm building the avenue for AI which comes into picture. So protect yourself from using social media sites, and you're protecting your friends, family, contacts. And when you're sharing videos, you want to protect your videos and photos. Like I'm on social media. Think about any social media. I think I'm super active on Twitter. Like I keep posting. People think I'm like crazy mad when it comes to sharing something on the social media, but I only share the content which I feel is relevant. Like there's one contest which is going on about, do I look like a hacker? So a friend of mine said that we all are promoting, and we are all telling the college students that yes, hackers don't always wear a hoodie. Even though I have my jacket just right next to me, who's like, which is a hooded jacket. I love it, not because I work in the space, but I just generally like it. So hackers don't always wear hoodies, or they don't come in like that particular shape, which are working in the garage and then they're eating just pizzas. No, but I do love pizzas. So here comes social engineering. Now, this is very interesting aspect. Now, I work with Sarab. So I actually started interacting with Sarab just recently, and Sarab gave me his information that okay, this is who I am. I looked him at LinkedIn, and I sent him the request. And I asked him, "Is this you?" Yeah, he said yes. Now, this is the first step. What I did, I started looking him up on the social media. He might have shared some pictures on Facebook. So I'll start looking him at the Facebook. He might have shared some information on Twitter or any other site. Or there might be phone number that might be there on any site. So I'll get his name. I might get his email address. I might get his phone number. Oh, okay. And then there might be other details that I might get about him. Like that might be really informative for me. And especially, I'll tell you a funny thing that whenever I interact with a person, and especially I'm meeting it for the first time, and I feel that this person I should be connected and I should be knowing more about this person, I will go to every social media site and I'll figure out about that person. And it might if I put it logically, it might be stalking, wherein I might to try and get information about that person. But it can be tricky also. So if you are posting anything online, remember, I can get to know every information, or anyone can get to know about you, all the pictures. So and a fun fact, I posted a picture around 4 years back, which was from one of my travels that I did. And I was so excited because I traveled to that place for the first time. And I was like spilling the beans all over the place, spilling the pictures all over the place. And later on, after a day, like that's my habit. If I put something online, it'll not be public till the time I want it to be public. I'm very cautious about it, even on like any social media. So I realized that I shouldn't be doing it. I removed the pictures. And after few years, I remember 2 years back, somebody shared that picture with me and said, oh, this is a nice picture. I've never seen it. I'm like, I've removed it 2 years back. How did you get it? And they said, it's there. I realized that it's there in the web archives. I'm like, oh my God, which is, I became so much cautious that what I post, what comment I make there. So social engineering can be tricky. So be cyber smart, do all of these things, which I'm not going to go over because I've talked about it a lot. So let me just show you what I said. Like online information stay forever, know who can access your personal information, talk to a person if you feel there's something wrong going. Comes the AI. I might not be the best person to help around AI, but then this is what I'm doing right now, understanding artificial intelligence for smarter cybersecurity. And I'll tell you my experiences only. That's why I'm saying, like, you are guys are the champions and you folks are the champions. So you might want to add something to it in the end, but I'll try to share my perspective, and especially from the cybersecurity perspective. So here we can do the automated discovery and assets inventory. Now, what is that? So here in your college, there might be a lot of servers which might be as part of the lab, which might be there in HODs, which like a room, or which might be there with your teachers, and the assets are scattered everywhere. And if we don't have the whole posture of it, we would know that which systems are there in the system. And at the same time, if there are any vulnerabilities in those systems which might be there, so you might want to use artificial intelligence for a smarter asset inventory. And threat hunting is something, let me go ahead and show you rather than just giving you gyan. Here where I am trying to track it, let me go ahead and play a small video and how it happens. Now here we could hear that these are the concerns if we don't understand. So here I don't want to speak about this company, but I want to say that asset management is equally important. Now you must be thinking why I'm speaking a lot about AI to it. So if you have a full posture of your systems and understand that, okay, this is how a system behaves, these many systems do we need, and if there is an extension to the lab and there are new people who are required, so you can remember, okay, these many systems I would need more, and these are the systems which are running these applications. So this application might be vulnerable to attacks, so I need to start working towards that. And that's why AI systems comes into picture with cybersecurity, and a lot of healthcares have started using AI with cybersecurity. Why? So they have systems which are there, which are consolidated system with all the prescriptions, all the user data or healthcare data of the patients. Now if there's another patient which comes up with similar kind of a disease, they can actually uh, get to know with the AI and ML techniques that, okay, these are the symptoms, so this could be the issue. So that's when AI and ML kicked in. But if, let's say, the system is vulnerable and somebody else get to know about all the information about the patient, would it be good? No. So that's when AI is there, but it combines with cybersecurity. And at the same time, if I'll talk about from the transcribe systems, there is a system which is there for people who can't see. So there's a system wherein they type and the system speaks, okay, this is what you are, or when you speak, it transcribes it to a text. So you are typing something, you're trying to look for some information on the social media, and suddenly something gets changed. Will it be spooky? Or it says something else to the system, or it searches something else, it'll be spooky. So I think when it comes to machine learning understands that yes, this is how different models work. Now let me come to the predictive analysis. This is something which is important. Now predictive analysis, when it comes to machine learning and the data analytics, it's very important to capture and understand the system, and at the same time what attacks might happen on our system, getting the threat intel from different sources, getting the information about attacks from different sources, and see if they will be applicable on our system. And would you do it manually? No, it's not possible. It's humanly not possible. You might be a genius, you who might be able to do it, but there can be tricky situations wherein you are putting the information, and you are actually putting yourself in a situation where you might have some attacks which might be there on your applications. So when you have predictive analysis, you have systems running which might show you that okay, these are the indicators which might show me that my system might be compromised. And at the same times there would be scenarios which actually stimulate the attack in a system which is exactly like production system, or a system which can actually showcase there is an attack that might happen on your system, because right now these vulnerabilities which are there, and from the previous learning experiences we feel that the system might be vulnerable. Now comes threat hunting. Now, threat hunting is a term which is basically very prevalent in the cybersecurity space these days, which is actually providing information on the threats which are around the industries. And especially if I talk about ransomwares, people started getting to know about ransomwares which actually acts as a malware, which comes into your system, encrypts everything, or zip every file that you have, your pictures, everything, and or your projects. Let's say you are in college, your projects are zip and you can't do anything, and on the screen it says pay this much money and then only we'll decrypt the data. Would it be scary? Absolutely. So a cyber threat intel is basically that kind of intelligence which comes from different sources, which you leverage it and maps into your assets, your system, your the models that you have, train those. And if there is some kind of malicious behavior that gets detected, mm, it triggers an alarm that there might be something which is running in the background or running in the system which might needs address. So always check out for those threat hunting sources. And if you want to know about the latest and greatest threat hunting techniques which are there online, so do look for MITRE. Now comes anomaly detection. Now here, let's go ahead and take a look at it.
Vandana, your videos are not audible. I'm not sure whether you can increase the volume of it or something.
Now, when it takes 8 months to filter such kind of data, would it be scary? Absolutely, that'll be scary. Now, think about Sarab is actually organizing this session, and he has a certain behavior, and he logs into or he shares the emails in a certain pattern. And suddenly, I take over his email and start sending emails. There's a pattern that changes. There is a behavior that changes, and location that gets changes. So how about monitoring that pattern? How about doing all of that using AI and ML techniques and different models that are there, training the systems, understanding what could go wrong with that, and doing the data analysis? It's very, very important. And I feel that the newer technologies that are coming up, they are coming with AI and ML, especially if I talk about the fraud preventions. You log into your bank every day, correct? Now when you log into your bank, do you use a certain pattern, or how frequently do you log in? You log in uh, every day, or might be once 2 days, or even I've logged in a couple of times, like twice a day. But every time you log into your bank, does it ask for multi-factor authentication? It does. But if you log into your Gmail, does it ask for multi-factor authentication? I don't think so. It does not. If you are logged in on your system, it keeps you logged in. But if you change a system, if you change a browser, does it ask for login? Yes. But does it ask for multi-factor authentication? It does. There is a change in the system, there is a change in the behavior, and there is a change in the location or even a browser. So that's when AI and ML kicks in and understand this is how a user behaves, or even when I try and log in, there are technologies which are based on AI, which are actually building a system saying, if I am clicking mouse clicks, or if I'm typing my strokes in a certain way, if that changes, that actually can kick an alert to the system that yes, there might be a change in this in the user. So if I am for example, I am buying my tickets from a certain uh, application or a certain site that I books my application, I have a lot of points gathered on that, and somebody gets to know about my credentials, and they start using my points. Would it be concerning? Absolutely, that'd be concerning. But if they gets to know about my credentials, but there is a technique which is running in the background, which might be a context aware and which might be risk based analysis using AI. So as soon as they start using my credentials, there might be something that kicks in, like a multi-factor authentication or a second factor authentication that kicks in and says you have to authenticate yourself, and then only we'll authorize you to log in. How good at that? So that's how AI is actually kicking in with data analysis and helping us big time. Now, when it comes to measurement systems and compliances, can I trust them? It's a very tricky situation. Now, this example is basically this video is all about video surveillance system. You might feel that these are from different vendors, but think about what they're trying to portray, and especially with AI. Like there's an aircraft. You go to aircraft, and there are a lot of information which are shared with the cabin crew and whatnot. And when it comes to behavior which is not stored, but if there is a change in the behavior, like a person goes in the plane and start speaking with someone, or start behaving nervous, or start behaving in a different way, but if artificial intelligence kicks in and detects the behavior, detects the change in the system, it can be reported on time, and if there is an issue, it can be reported. So let me play this video, and I think there are a few more videos which I'm not going to play, but we're going to talk about them. So here they are trying to do the motion analysis, motion detection, and how people are onboarded. And if there is a change in the behavior, they can detect, okay, there is something fishy that is happening. Similarly, around the globe, there are so many attacks that are spreading across, and we can um, detect using cyber threat intel, using the AI mechanisms, and we can stop all those attacks to happen in our organization, in our system. And people are talking about dark web and whatnot, and they're trying to fight cybercrime. But if you don't fix and address the cyber crimes early, it can lead to privacy breaches, crimes, and whatnot. And people are working towards it. And I remember there was Mori Swarm, which triggered a huge amount of concern for the whole ecosystem, which actually created. So if you go back and see that how the whole cybersecurity mechanism started kicking in, like the whole internet was down, how that happened. What was behind it? What was the motive behind it? So somebody wanted to understand internet and they just flooded it. How? So that's a cyber crime. But people didn't know back then. So there was not much that was done. But it can be concerning. So getting to know that is very important. Now, there are certain emerging fields in cybersecurity, and we all have to work together. We can work together from different fields, cultures, and cybersecurity welcomes everyone. Here, there's an infra security, like you have set up an infra, you need to have security around it. You have an application security, network security, cloud security, and anything and everything can have AI attached to it, because we need artificial intelligence to see what could go wrong with any of the systems, any of the things around. Now, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to take up some questions. And I know I've said a lot, I've given a lot of yarn, and sometimes it's like too much to take.
Not at all. That's been great. So thank you, Vandana. Gyan is what we want our kids to get. So I'm glad you did. There is a bunch of questions, as you can imagine here. One point, actually, some of the videos that you were playing, we weren't able to hear. So if you can share those links, some of them I really want to kind of look at those. But let me go up here to the top and so Sahib, you had a question around phishing attacks. I keep mispronouncing this because of the PH, but he says, I believe phishing is a passive attack. So is it possible that the intruder could install malware in the user's device?
Mm-hmm. So think about a passive attack. Where will it start? So an intruder will send you an email, and after that, what will happen? Now, when the email has come to you with an attachment, what will you do? You'll click on that attachment, you download it, and what next will happen? There might be things that might be installed on your system, and you're gone. And I'll tell you something very funny, but it's not funny, wherein there have been organizations which are multi-million dollar companies which got breached because of phishing attacks. Their one system got compromised, and due to phishing attack, wherein uh, someone actually portrayed as a legitimate person and then sent out an email. The person downloaded something on the system, got infected, and that spread across the whole organization. And I remember this happened to one of the organization in 2015. That was a Thanksgiving day, and we had to spend, like, I was in India, but my whole team was in US, and I remember spending the whole day and night, my weekends, for this attack. And I was like, oh, what has happened? And in the end, people said it started off with phishing attacks, and it circulated. So it's not that easy to circulate malware, but if you're not cautious, anything could go wrong. So from phishing attacks, people generally try and get the PII information, confidential information, your passwords, usernames, and a lot of organizations have given their credentials. I remember working for media company, and think about, media company is generally making news. Do they want to be in news? No. Still, a lot of people were getting customized phishing attacks. That was very scary. Like, they look like exactly that it has come from a president of the company, and suddenly you see there is one single change. There is a small change from I to L. I was like, this can also happen. Like, people used to do targeted attacks. Check out the New York Times phishing attack. That's a huge one. Check out so many other attacks, phishing attacks that have happened. And they start with credentials and whatnot they can do. And it's not easy to install malware, I do agree. But then if you download attachments and do all of that, you don't know what could go wrong.
You're done.
You're done.
So another question, and I have been, guilty of doing this over and over again, especially while flying, in the US at airports, connecting to the free Wi-Fi's. The question is around what you suggested, that you use the VPN while connecting. How does that make a difference? I guess VPN is something that's used more in corporate world than in student world. So, what kind of security does VPN give? What does it actually do for you and protect you from this?
Right. So VPN is basically virtual private network. which actually creates a tunnel for secure communication, if I put it like the basic layman. And which actually, if you are in a kind of a non so good network, then when that tunnel is there, that information passes through the tunnel, so that even if your network is compromised, people cannot listen to the conversation. So I think it helps it that way, if I
So
have to
is
put
it
it for the students.
different? Is it different from an end-to-end encryption kind of thing that we talk about in WhatsApp or other?
I think, see, WhatsApp is an app which
Hmm.
provides end-to-end communication or encryption. But it comes to VPN, it creates a tunnel to connect to the network. Like right now, we all are working from home, correct?
Right,
Now,
right,
if we want to connect to the corporate channel, we need
right.
something to connect, which means we need to have some certificates, some kind of a tunnel to connect to the corporate world, or even to
Hmm.
college. Right? Teachers are doing it. I know professors are doing it. So we need a certain private network virtually, which is available, which we
Right.
can leverage and access the network. So VPN helps that way. And
So it makes it secure. Sorry, go on.
no, go ahead, please.
So I was just asking that, it virtually, does it create kind of the same security as if you were on campus as a student accessing certain,
Correct,
servers that
correct.
were within the network and within a firewall, I guess.
Yes,
That,
you can say
yeah.
that. Yes,
Okay.
yes. And let me give you a link which you might want to go through around the VPN, which is what is a VPN, which you can leverage. And I think when you are in college, if you've heard about a book called Frozen Tenenbaum, I think they have a good concepts
Done.
around it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I've read it in college, like way back, but I think it still passes through the same
Yes.
culture. Yeah, so I think that has a good concept. I still have those books. Whenever I want to go back to the basics, I always look at that. And oh, some CV or AI techniques. Oh, okay. So I'll tell you a funny thing. There's someone who has posted that, ma'am, you're using a virtual background or blurred background, which do uses some AI techniques. What breaches can there be to blow your background cover, and how to protect it? That's funny. So here, I'm using the background provided by the Zoom team, or the platform that I am using. So right now it's blurry because that's what I use, but there can be a number of things. Like I use a page which I download from the internet that might be infected. So
Mhm.
could be there are chances which infect my system or which infect Zoom. But I think now, after one of the things that happened with them, the platform, I think they have corrected it big time. But a
Hmm.
lot of things can happen wherein somebody might get into Zoom, and then they start changing the things, right? That can
Right. So I
happen.
think, yeah, and I guess the question is related around, sometime there's been some work around reducing the accuracy of an image, right, or the size of the image using AI techniques, and then sharpening it when it goes across to the other side. So can we hack your virtual background to actually see what's behind, is the question, I guess, that they're thinking about, which is an interesting question.
Which is an interesting question. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So,
agree.
yeah, yeah.
um
So,
I don't know, like I would say that, but I think this is a homework for me.
uh-huh.
That might happen. Like I remember doing a patent recently, which is around intruder and identity and access management, which I could think that it could be there, and
Mhm,
suddenly
mhm.
it just happened. So probably you might want to give it a try. You never know. When it comes to technology, anything can happen.
Right,
No technology is 100% secure, and that's when
right.
cybersecurity kicks in. And if an organization says that I'm 100% secure, they're living in a different world. Nope, that's not possible.
Not this world, yes.
Not this world.
So
Yeah.
so interestingly, I mean, with AI, I mean, I always find it very interesting that intelligent algorithms are built by intelligent people to do all sorts of interesting things. But then there are intelligent people who are now looking to attack those algorithms and break them, right? So
Yeah.
we look at Google bombs in the early days, where you'd have George Bush being the biggest failure in the world, right, and the White House page coming up for that. Or even if we look at recommender systems, right, so that we use all the time, they are very useful tools. But then publishers want to use them to promote new books that they have published, right? By attacking the recommenders, so that whenever you search for Harry Potter or whatever it might be, that are very, very popular books, these books start getting recommended that probably have nothing to do with Harry Potter, right? And
Right.
so, there's an interesting aspect of a different type of attack there, which is attacking the data that the AI is actually developed on, right? And creating biases in there. So,
Right. I totally agree. And then when it comes to these learning mechanisms and then AI techniques, if you don't train them well, if you don't provide them the right set of data, it might not give you the right results. Because I remember working for one of the projects which was around machine learning, and that was for one of the healthcare systems. And if you don't provide the right kind of machine learning model, I think it will not give you the right kind of data which you are expecting. And for that system, we use different models to see what kind of results we come up with, and the results were actually varying. So that was scary, concerning, but then it was giving us values to provide more data to it, feed in with more data. So any system, it needs to have right kind of data to get trained, to get you the right information in future.
There's a question here from Rushel, who's actually been asking a number of questions and is actually a very proactive student, even in the sessions that we run, teaching them AI and machine learning. So she's said she's in traffic, so asked for somebody else to ask this question. So I will do the honors here. How can we expect a person to behave in a certain way in an aircraft? So I guess maybe rephrasing that, are there normative behaviors we expect from a person? And how, when we are looking for that kind of anomalies, right, using the videos that you were showing. So where do we actually build those kind of standard behaviors of people from?
Think about you enter an aircraft, you enter in a certain way, you have your luggage, and then at the same time, the first thing that you do is you keep your luggage up, you sit on the seat, and that's all. But what happens is there are people who start speaking with other people, which is also seems to be normal. But then you wake up, you pick up your luggage again, keep it down, then keep it again. You make things which are generally not normal, which people can detect. Okay, this might be something suspicious, and then you start going to washrooms, and then you start communicating with different people, which sometimes seems off. I think those behavior can be tracked, that who's making what changes and how the person behaved in a certain fashion in an aircraft. And I think all those motion detectors can be done.
And that brings up a very interesting point, right? So when we look at machine learning, for example, right, and we are trying to discriminate between two classes of normative behavior versus not normal behavior. Typically in cybersecurity as well, if we're looking at network traffic to identify whether this is an attack and or normal behavior, the positive class of attacks is very, very infrequent compared to the kind of safe data, right? Yeah. And so you have this huge skew, and that typically, in my understanding, is will result in a lot of what are called false positives, right? And I know that IBM is doing a lot of work in this whole area of network intrusion detection, and it really comes down to, yes, we are red flagging lots of stuff, and then we need humans to go through that and pore over it and kind of figure out whether this is correct or not really an attack. Has there been some work around using AI to reduce those false positives and be able to reduce the work that humans have to do?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think IBM has a huge set of researchers around security space, as well as AI and ML, if I have to put it this way. I remember there was a discussion which was going around that we've catered to healthcare systems as well. Think about catering to healthcare system. And I was giving an example of finding the right kind of medicines and finding the right kind of prescriptions for people. So I think a lot around those systems have been done using Watson. I think the teams are using Watson for healthcare, Watson for IoT, and whatnot is being done. And not just in that space, but anomaly detection, wherein when we do threat hunting, actively hunt the threats in the organization or in any system. I think there is a huge amount of work being done. There are different models that have been created, different technologies which are being trained for it, so that we can detect the anomalies as early as possible. And I think AI is one area which is very vast. and cybersecurity can be attached to it at any given point of time.
Mhm.
Like in any of the models, we can add cybersecurity. If you are developing a system wherein we just somebody just asked that can we use this blurry background to hack it, and then can somebody detect it? So this blurry background has some steady pixels. If there is a
Mhm.
change in the pixels, you'll get to know that there are some changes.
Right,
So
right,
you would get to know that there are flags that will be triggered, and that will be actually triggering cybersecurity as well as so AI system will be triggering because they'll see a malicious behavior, a change in the
right,
behavior.
right,
And
right.
one aspect that I want to highlight, that cybersecurity is not a domain. I say it as a domain, but it's not a domain. It's a kind
Mm.
of ethics that people follow in different domains. It's
Right.
something which is spread across.
Mm. Mm.
That's
Mm.
all.
Okay, great. Another question, is second factor authentication completely flawless? If no, can you please give a notion of flaws, meaning what can be the flaws? Since so far I know banks use the same for authentication.
Mhm. I would say that second factor authentication is safe and unsafe at the same time. Now, if
Mhm.
you're using second factor authentication as a phone OTP, like mobile OTP, SMS OTP, or email OTP, would it be safe? Think about send an OTP from your bank to your phone. A lot of times it'll come on the screen. Even if you're in a public crowd, it will come. Except I'm using an app locker, even for my messages, which is like device built, so it will not come.
Okay.
And I'm using my thumbprints and all. So that's when the newer technologies have started coming in, like Fido2,
Mm. Mm.
YubiKey. Like YubiKey is something which is amazing, and then Fido2 is coming up with keys. Like on my system right now, I can use my fingerprints to log in. Like I don't need to type my password, which I was very
Right,
fascinated about.
right,
So probably that's one thing. Then voice-based OTPs have started coming, which is good way. Then push notifications. When a push notification comes as a second factor authentication, if somebody has got your credentials and they're trying to access, you get a push notification for
right,
authentication. Like
right.
Google does it. Right?
Google does it.
Gmail,
Right.
comes with some numbers. You have to type in, say yes, and then only it takes you in.
Yeah.
Like on my own phone, if I use a different browser or something new, it comes up even though I'm logged into Gmail. So I think that's one thing which is great. And another thing which is push notifications when I use, if it's especially for thumbprints, for biometrics.
Mhm.
Biometrics, who will steal? Like how they will steal? I'm sure it'll be a
Right,
big hassle for doing that. So probably that'll be unique to you. My facial
right,
expressions are unique to me,
right.
so I think that actually can help you. I
Yeah.
don't use OTPs too much. I'm not a big fan of OTPs, so I try and figure out if I can use an authenticator. Like I use Google Authenticator, I use IBM Verify, which is again both are free to use, so I use them. And
Mhm.
I have my GitHub, I have my Gmail and whatnot on authenticators. Like I
Okay.
have a habit of using multiple mechanisms so that
That's
people
interesting.
don't.
Yeah, yeah. But for the layman or lay person, I should say, it's very difficult to keep up with all of this innovation that's taking place. And in general, I mean, the concern is that with a lot of the innovations that are taking place, are they really being tested enough to know whether, there are gaps in there, right? And this is always a question. I don't know whether you have a view on this.
I think it's a yes and a no, because it's a
That's a
question
political
wherein
answer. You're saying too much yes and no here.
yeah, because I know that there are always two faces to it, because I have been in the
Right.
industry where there is a yes, complete yes, but then there's a no as well. So and
Hmm.
especially while working with all these clients, and I can understand the way they behave, the way they
Yeah.
act. So now no, because there are gaps always leave somewhere. And especially if
Right.
I talk about last year, it was one tricky year. Like I would say a classic example of using the technology but misusing the technology. Now
Mhm.
how that happened is people wanted to be on cloud, like all the classes went on, like my kid is doing the
Yeah.
classes online, and we
Yeah.
are working remote for over a year now. Like I've only gone to office couple of times, that too I had work, and like we had some discussions and I had to go, but I have not gone to office. I was not even
Right.
in Bangalore. I was in different state altogether, and for fun fact, my system went bad. So
No.
they had to ship the system not to
Right.
Bangalore but to a different location, different state
Right.
altogether. So that
Right.
that could have posed a risk. And then when you are not when you get a new device, you're not configured, that device is not configured till the time it comes to the
Right.
network, and then the whole encryption happens, like the device encryption happens. So
Hmm.
I think that gave me an arena to play around with the device, but I didn't do it. Like,
Very
I did.
interesting.
But so now why a yes? Because people are trying.
Hmm.
People are
Yeah.
trying, and when they move to cloud, they actually, they were in a hurry to get their services up and running.
Hmm.
So that time there have been points wherein the loopholes happened, and that's how people started breaching the organizations. I think I
Right.
would say that's why the biggest concern is right now.
Sure, sure. There's one question. Actually, you have so many questions here that we're never going to get through all of them. So, what I would ask is if I can send you these, right? Because these are all being logged as everything else is in the world. If you could answer some of those, at least we can share that with the students and people who are listening here. Because I don't want to keep you, we've already kind of run over. One question that I think is very interesting, and it talks about Facebook tracking which apps we are using on the phone. How do we secure ourselves from this? I should say that it's not just Facebook, right? It's Google, and it's everybody who's tracking everybody about you. So how can we
Right.
actually protect ourselves from something like this? Is there some
Um,
advice?
yes, I think I would say that always look for the privacy settings. And I remember a friend sharing with me who is not part of cybersecurity saying that there are some apps which are actually taking the data from Facebook, and you have yourself allowed it. And I'm like, did I really? Like, I am super nervous about those things, and still I do that. So I realized that I had to go to special settings around third party data sharing, and I had to turn it off. And I removed
Right,
all the apps that I've given access to.
right,
And
right.
I think that's so much necessary. And not just with Facebook. I wouldn't want to pinpoint Facebook for that. I would
Sure.
say for Instagram, for Gmail, for any site that you use, even for that matter, Twitter. I would say check out what you're sharing and third party applications that you have. I'll give you an example. Like I'm a big fan of calendars. Like I live by
Mhm.
calendars, or I
Right,
forget it. I missed a meeting at 11 because I committed for it, but it was not in my calendar, and I was like, oh, okay. Shh.
right.
So that's when I always live by calendars. Even though somebody's sending me calendar or not, I put it in my calendar. So now there was one app that I was using, and that got breached. So that calendar app, and think about all my meetings would be breached. So
Gosh, yeah.
but I remember Google Gmail sending me a proper notification saying that this calendar is this particular app is breached, because they actually got to know they had intelligence running, and I removed the access from that. And I probably checked out all other accesses that I have, even with Zoom or any other application that I might have given access to my calendars, and even my Gmail account. I removed that. I think
Hmm.
we should keep a check on what we are giving access to, and sometimes it's unknown. And especially when the privacy setting comes into picture, the disclaimer, it's so huge that we don't look at it. I'll just say yes,
Yeah.
and we take ahead.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, in the end of the day, you don't have much of a choice, right? You're choosing between being able to install the app or not, right? By saying yes or
That's right.
no, and so it's a very uneven playing field and very unfair in some ways, I think, and hopefully there'll be some legislation that stops that.
I hope so.
Uh, Vandana, we could go on for another 2 hours, I think, with the number of questions that here. So I will spare you those, but really it shows how, people have reacted to your presentation. So thank you so much. You've made a lot of fans here from the looks of it. And the downside of that is I am going to send you the questions, and I hope you will find some time in your busy schedule to answer them. And we'll be happy to share that back with the students. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful to hear from you. And I hope this is a start of a collaboration where we would hope that we can also, in some way, support some of the initiatives that you are doing and provide some AI and machine learning, depth to some of the conversations that are happening
Yeah,
in those areas. So thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure speaking with you. And I am so glad that we have got so many questions. I think this is one wonderful group I have ever interacted, because I've never seen these many questions. So I
Right.
think I would like to thank you and the whole team, because building such a kind of a forum where people can freely ask a question, it's so much important. Especially students group, they don't ask questions. Like, I had to force them, and I'm a kind of a person who will shamelessly be there and will be listen to the questions till the time they don't ask. Even on a stage, I don't shy away in staying there and making them uncomfortable and asking for questions. So I think I love the whole group which is asking questions and have so many
Yes.
doubts. And I think it's so important to have that curiosity. And then I think curiosity is mother of everything, or especially invention.
Yes, yes, no, absolutely. And we kind of threaten them with the fact that if they don't ask questions, we'll send them to the dentist and get their teeth pulled out, right? So that helps.
That's a good
Anyway,
one.
so thank you. Thank you, Vandana. Really nice hearing from you today.
Likewise.